So there's a huge problem with traditional trust planning. We've seen more happen with the updating or modernization of trust laws in the last, say, 8 to 20 years, more so than we've seen in the last 200 or 500 years, however long trusts have been around. We've seen so much happen, and there's this huge competition from state to state related to updating their trust laws and creating favorable trust environments and trust industries. And we see people from all around the world taking advantage of this. And it's really great for the client because now they're able to have more control of their wealth over many generations than they've ever been able to have before. So today we're going to focus on control and how that is a modern trust consideration. Let's get into it. So one of the greatest problems about traditional trust planning has been this lack of control. All administrative and managerial functions of the trust assets have all been focused on one single person or one single entity. This person or this entity is the trustee, and the trustee has been responsible for every aspect from administering the trust to pulling together tax returns, other tax documents, investing the assets, making distributions to the beneficiaries, making other tax decisions related to the assets in the trust. And so there's a variety of different things that go into this, and all of this has been centered and focused on this one individual or this one organization. I say organizations, and I'm talking about trust companies or banks that have trust companies. And often this has been delegated over history to probably mostly trust companies and banks. And the particular issue with this is if we just focus on organizations serving as the trustee, is that there's often conflicts that arise. Banks, financial institutions, trust companies, they often have a conflict of interest that they don't acknowledge, but they often push their own products, their own funds, their own investments, whatever it may be, and then they oversee the entire process. As the trustee, they are the one who decides who's going to invest in what. And as time has gone along, we've seen more and more states pass legislation around this idea of directed trust. And so directed trust is the modern solution to getting away from this lack of control and these conflicts. The directed trust structure parts and parcels out the different managerial and administrative functions of the trust. And so the modern trust, the modern directed trust, splits out and evens out the different powers over multiple parties. And when this happens, it eliminates just one particular person or organization having all of the control. And this is really important for a variety of different reasons. And as each role gets built out, we see maybe 3, 4, 5, depending on the state, there could be a variety of different roles that get filled. But in general, think about what's called a trust protector, an investment trust advisor, a distribution trust advisor, the administrative trustee. If we're specifically talking about South Dakota, which has the best trust laws available of any state, then we're also talking about a tax trust advisor. These roles can name an individual, they can name an organization, or they can even be built out in a committee style, which might really interest a lot of families who have multiple advisors, multiple professionals who've helped them along the way accumulate their wealth, grow their family businesses, know their family dynamic or whatever it might be. Or maybe there's a lot of children who are beneficiaries and they're all well positioned to be able to contribute to the management of the family wealth. Well, these different roles, these different responsibilities can have a committee style, and there can be directed trust is the opportunity to build out your own family laws, your own family bylaws to be able to make decisions regarding the family wealth. And when a directed trust is properly structured, we see greater oversight and we also see greater flexibility, and ultimately this leads to greater control. Not just controlling from the grave. I think often people think about control as controlling from the grave, someone having too tight of a grip on the family wealth once they pass away. But when we talk about control, we're talking about the ability for the family to be able to move be flexible and be able to make relevant, or I should say, the right decisions at the right time, depending on family dynamic, tax laws, how the economy is doing, whatever it may be. That's what control really looks like, being able to make the right decisions at the right time, given a variety of different circumstances and different impacts. And so the directed trust structure, which allows control, ultimately allows the trust to align with the family vision or the family mission. And this is completely missed out on the traditional trust structure of naming one trustee who manages and administers everything. And the investment freedom now allows the trust assets to be free of any type of proprietary products that a financial institution might be pushing or forcing a client into, or the client being the actual trust. And with a committee style, if it's structured in a way that includes family members, now they can have a say-so of how the investments are going to be made, or when distributions might be made, or when there might be updates to an irrevocable trust, where there might be amendments or revisions to an irrevocable trust. Again, we have flexibility, we have control. And so ultimately with the directed trust structure, we're building a long-lasting security, family security. The beneficiaries have the ability to replace these different fiduciary roles. And I guess that's important to note, that the different responsibilities that we carve out, again, think about the trust protector, the investment trust advisor, the tax trust advisor, the distribution trust advisor. All of these different roles are fiduciary roles. That means that they have to act in the best response, or in the best interest of the beneficiaries of the trust. The beneficiaries can retain the ability to replace these fiduciaries at different times according to how the trust itself is structured. And these various control mechanisms really cut down on abuses, complacency, and a general apathy for what happens with the family wealth. And the end result is that you now have a reliable, mission-driven trust that can live over multiple generations. The last thing to consider, though, is that each state has different laws around directed trust. And some states have much more well-defined statutes around directed trust and allow for greater, I should say, legal responsibility. Again, think about fiduciaries, legal responsibility when it comes to these various roles serving the beneficiaries. So when you're looking at creating a directed trust, where you create the trust matters so much, with a state like South Dakota having the best directed trust laws available.